So this is how you can animate like Iman Gadzhi's editors. Today we're going to break it down how you can make this very nice looking AI animation with this path leading up to the mountain. Then I will also show you how you can make this aesthetic looking chapter animation, and also how you can create this nice AI looking animation. So with that said, before we jump in, if you want to get the project files, then just join the Editing Elite. In there, I will show you how you can get from 0 to 5K per month as an editor, and also give you feedback on your edits, help you to get clients, and also help you to retain that clients. So if you're interested, just join the Editing Elite. And with that said, let's jump into the video. So first thing we did is we just created a new composition inside of After Effects. And it's just a basic 1920 by 1080, 29 frames per second composition. So you can just pretty much create it on your own as well. So if you take a look at the first animation, then you will see this is an AI generated image, and it is also looking very branded and very nice. It is a very nice purple outline on the rock and the subject itself, and then also a very nice purple look on the mountains itself. Now, so the first thing we need to do is to create this AI image or recreate it. And what we don't want is perfection. We don't want to recreate it exactly like one-to-one. So I went on freepik.com and I came up with this very image. It is not that gray. It has a lot more colors added to it. However, we don't want to recreate it one-to-one. I think this image is already pretty good. And if you want to tweak it and add more gray to it as well, then you can also just add a tint to the image later in After Effects. Yeah, so I use freepik.com. This is not affiliated. We just use it for all the animations, also for B-roll, for symbols and logos and stuff like that. So it is a very, very powerful platform. And I also think it is one of the most powerful AI image generating tools out there as well, from my experience at least, okay? So with that said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna export this image. And also if you want the exact same image, then just join Editing Elite. I will link the whole project file with all the files that I used within the Editing Elite. Alright, so this is the image that I've downloaded. It is really sharp and nice looking. And what we need to do now for this image, in order to create this very nice looking 3D effect with the mountains and the subject, is we need to cut out this dude from the image, and we just have to separate it pretty much from the background, so from the mountains here. So I did that already. If we open up my Photoshop file, you can see there's two layers, one called man, and there's also this called generative fill, which is the background. So I have the man object here cut out from the background, and I've replaced this pretty much with just a couple of clouds. Okay, this was AI. Before that, it would just look like this. I removed the character. Then I didn't like how this grass looked. So what I did is I just added some clouds to it. Nothing was done pretty much by me. I just selected the subject itself, and then I just added the man on top of it as well, and just cut it or removed it from the background. And if you want a video on how I create these things within Photoshop, then just let me know. I can also make more tutorials on how you can create really good looking thumbnails for your clients. I will put up some thumbnails on the screen right now. These are some thumbnails that I've just created for channels that I am editing for. And yeah, if you're interested in also recreating these type of images or what tools I use to create these thumbnails, then just let me know in the comments down below. So what I did is I exported the Photoshop file as a PSD file. So this is just save to, and then just the graphics folder here. And then I just drag and dropped it in here. And then you just choose editable layer styles. And then boom, you already have a image added on top of it. I'm gonna scale it down to 50% so it just fills out perfectly. And then you have this pre-composition or this composition here on your timeline. So we're gonna double click that. We're going to select the man and the generative fill. Let's just rename it to background mountains. We're going to select these two and then just bring it back here. So why are we doing this? It is because it's just so much easier to work with that instead of going all the way into the pre-composition. So that's the reason why we're doing that. And we're going to just line that up as well within the center. So now we have already the man and also the background, and also of course the rocks here separated within After Effects. It's pretty much 30% of the work done now. It is pretty much one of the hardest parts for someone who is doing this for the first time, but from now on, we'll add all the details, the text, also the path, and also the camera movements as well. So when you pay from left to right, etc., etc. All right, so we have now the man and the background as well added into After Effects. And now what we're gonna work on is all the details. We're gonna add this headline, this subheadline, this line here, and also this gear, and also this nice little moving piece of the equipment. Also the path here, which is super important, and also the smoke here that you can see is moving below the subject and above the subject. Then we're also gonna add these little glitch effects, plus also the nice camera movement as well, and also adding a little panning or a little tilting to the character here as well. As you can see, he's tilting from left to right as well. Yeah, what do you guys think? What is the first thing we're gonna start off with? So if you guessed it right, yes, we're gonna start off with this bottom left row here. Then we're gonna do the path, and then we're gonna add the smoke and also the tent, and then we're gonna add the tilting and the movement of the strings here, and then we're gonna add at the very end the camera movement. So let's get started first with the line. What we see here, if we analyze this correctly, this is a straight line, and it has some warp effect added to it, some wave effect to it. Then it has this very nice, I would say, TV effect added to it, and then some glow, and also it starts in the middle, and it pretty much just, there's the trim path added to it, which if you don't know, we will see in a bit. And yeah, there's also less opacity here and more opacity here. So let's just get started with this. So first, if we want to recreate it, we need to get the pen tool, remove the fill, so fill options to 0. Then we're gonna add a line, so we're gonna hold shift down, that creates a perfectly straight line, and we're gonna just place it pretty much in the bottom left, okay? And then we're just gonna make it a bit more slim, around 7 pixels is good. And then if you haven't yet, you choose the linear gradient, and if you choose that, you can see that there are these 2 dots here. So we're gonna place the dark one at the top and the bright one at the bottom. So we can tweak that a little bit, we can make it less dark. And if we want to, we can go into the color and also change the opacity as well. So we can make it like 85 or something like that and just make it a bit more dark. Boom, that's nice. So next thing we're gonna add is wave warp, okay? And you can just copy pretty much these settings here. Wave height 1, width is 50, and then just keep it at sign, and then you can just change the direction as you'll wish. You can make it 180 degrees, for example. And anti-aliasing, I just like to make it high. I'm not really sure what it does, to be honest. I don't know every single setting in After Effects, to be fair. However, I know for a fact that if you keep the quality high, is just yeah, it's always good. All right, and you can already see that it is jiggling. It's really nice. It has really this subtle moving to it. If you want to decrease it a little bit to like 140-ish, that's also cool. And next is we're gonna add some glow to it. So for that, I'm using Deep Glow. This is a plugin that you don't find in After Effects. If you don't have Deep Glow 2 or Deep Glow 1, whatever, then you can buy it on the official website. And the reason I'm using Deep Glow instead of Glow or instead of something else or other plugins is because I found that Deep Glow has literally the best results. Maybe if you want to buy it, then you can just go ahead and type it into Google and you can just buy it for like, it's like $100, so it's a bit expensive for what it does. However, again, this gives just the best glow. So yeah, if you want to get Deep Glow, then cool. If not, then you can just use a different kind of glow and just tweak that. However, for this project, I'm just using Deep Glow because I'm assuming that most people have already Deep Glow. If not, then yeah, you can just recreate it with your own tools that you have. All right, so next, let's make the radius a bit smaller. And then we're just going to tweak it a little bit with the radius and exposure and also the stroke as well. So if you go into here, you can just change the opacity as well to how much you want the top one to see. For example, in this case, we can also just make it a little bit less visible. All right, so with that said, I have the radius of 904 and exposure 1.25, and then also just tweaked the stroke here, like the color, to 40% opacity. You can just change it as much as you want. However, this is going to get us pretty much 80% there, in my opinion. All right, so now that we added the glow, what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually animate the path as well. So we're just gonna make it pretty much just open up in the middle. For that, we need a trim path, and we're gonna have the trim path opened up, and we're gonna set a keyframe for start and end. And I suppose you know what a keyframe is. If not, keyframe is just helps us to animate this, okay? And yeah, so as you can see, if we drag down from 100% the end to 50% or 52%, then from bottom to up, it just the line moves, okay? And the path moves. And now we just need to also do the same thing for a start. We just move it down up until it's like 50%, and then you will see it's gone. And if we just play that back, you can see it just opens up through the middle. And this is the trick on how you can actually like just open up within the middle. It's just by start 50% and then end 50%, and then just have the start at 0 at the end and the second keyframe, and to have the end at 100%, if this makes sense. So next what we're going to do is we're going to select all 4 keyframes and we're going to apply an easing to it, so the animation looks a bit more cleaner. And for that I use a plugin called Flow. So what Flow does is you don't have to press FN and 9 or whatever you're using to easy ease it. What it does, it just gives you different easings or different smoothnesses that you can apply. My favorite is Smooth Operator. This is what I use pretty much for all my work, and around 90% of the time this is what I use. Either I easy ease it, I use Smooth Operator, or I do this Unknown Soldier one as well. So you can find this as well online. I'm not sure how much it costs, but it's definitely worth in case you just want to have the same kind of smooth animation for the keyframes, okay? It does cost probably money, but if you want the same results, you want consistency throughout your work for the channel that you work for, or for the brand, or for the website, or for the software you work for, then this is literally like a really good tool, and it saves you a ton of time instead of just pressing all over the place and just trying to find it yourself, copy pasting. It literally just as easy as apply, and then you can see it is super smooth. And we can just drag this out if we want. Oh, very clean. It was very smooth. Without it, this is what it look like. Very, very boring. And this one looks very, very smooth. So now we are pretty much done with it for now. We're gonna visit this in a second as well. Once we're gonna add this TV effect to the rest of the animation, then we're gonna just revisit this animation as well. But for now, let's switch to the text. We're gonna add this really cool effect to the text and also write the bottom text as well. And for this, what we're going to do is we're going to add a text. For example, what we're going to add is join the Creating Elite as our example text. And here we can change a font. So in this case, I just like the San Francisco Pro, or otherwise called SF Pro. So this is our headline, and then our subheadline or description will be, we're just going to write community specifically designed to editors who want to earn $5,000 per month and beyond. Okay, so we're just going to make this a bit more together here, and then we're just going to make it just a little bit bigger, okay? And also for the headline, we're just going to make it a bit bigger. Now, I know this is not the same text as you see on the example that we showed. However, again, this is we don't make it one-to-one the same. We just take the same principles, the same animation, and we just showcase it, okay? And how you can recreate it. All right, so the way we're gonna add the text effects is we're gonna select both the text here, and we're gonna add fade up characters to the text. So once we added this, now you won't see it, but if we open this up, then you're gonna see this is pretty much just fading up very slowly and nicely. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna make it like if it would slide in from above, and we're also gonna add these little nice decoding effects to it. So in order to achieve this, we're gonna open up the headline, we're gonna go into the animator section here, and then we're just gonna add here a property and just select character value. Boom. And then once we did that, we're gonna add censure and make it fully Unicode, and here we can just like offset the character value by 65. Now what this does is, if you just zoom in a little bit more, then you can see it adds like all the different characters. There's actually an E coming here, but you can see that there's like so many characters changing before the E appears. So, and the reason we're gonna add these here is because it also adjusts with our animation here. So this effect, this decoding effect, will end at the same time when our fade up effects end, like here for example. But now we're gonna actually add a start. We're gonna remove the keyframe here and make it to 0, and we're gonna click the offset instead, and we're gonna bring the 0% offset keyframe to the very end, and also make it 100%, and then just bring that to like 2 seconds as well. So this just gives us a bit more smoother, I would say, effect to it. And then we're gonna add another effect to make it slide in from above. For that, we're just gonna add property, and then we're gonna add position here. And for that, what we need to do is just offset this by minus 40-ish is good. So when we scroll in, you can see it comes from above, and it kind of drops in once the effect ends. Like pretty much every single character just drops in from above, and also of course decodes while it's dropping in. So now we have this effect, and well, this already looks really good. What we're gonna do next is add a little bit of smoothness to it. So we're gonna bring the easy high to -100. What this does is just makes it a bit more ease. That's it. So yeah, this is pretty much it. This is the text effect, and this is how you kind of like achieve all these text effects, is by adding and adding and adding more and more layers to it once you're kind of satisfied with the look. And if we want, we can also like add a nice blur to it as well. Like if you add blur to it, then before it appears, it's also blurred out. For example, we're just gonna set this to 100, then you're gonna see this is like super blurred, like here, for example. But in this case, we don't add any blur, we don't need that. And yeah, so what we're gonna do next is we're just gonna copy this animator and just gonna add this to this one. So we're gonna bring this, we're gonna remove this one, and we're gonna replace it. And we have the same thing now. What we just need to do is kind of like replace the keyframes a little bit, so it just makes sense when it appears. Okay, it's a bit too slow. So like this. Yeah, this is really good. I like it. So next thing I'm gonna add is this gear here that you can see on the bottom left. This adds a really nice detail to the overall animation, and it's also super branded if it's used throughout the whole video. And how we're gonna add that, there's like literally 2 options that you can do. So first option is, already guessed it, we're gonna find a picture of a gear, and we're just gonna drag and drop that into After Effects. So that is the first option. I'm gonna show you how you can find a gear. And then second is also you can recreate it within After Effects itself as well, with shapes and like very, very technical stuff. We're not gonna do the second one today, but maybe in a future video I can cover that, and how you can create this gear without actually needing a picture, just in After Effects with shapes. And yeah, but how can you find an actual gear picture? So the gear I'm using is almost the same one as Iman and his team used in the video, or pretty similar, I would say. It is actually on FreePic, and I just downloaded this from FreePic and I dropped it into Photoshop. And within Photoshop, I just pretty much removed the background. Okay, that's all I did, because I really like the gear and I wanted to use this one. I just removed the background and I made it pretty much transparent. Okay, so it's almost transparent. As you can see, there's a little bit of blue still on the outside if we take a look on that. But it is, I would say, 90% there. It won't be seen as that much accurate in the video, especially if we add this nice TV overlay effect. So now we have this gear in our project, and we're just going to make it as small as we need it. For example, we don't want to touch the line, so we're going to make it a bit less visible than the line. We can also make it like bring it up here if we want to, but I think this is already good enough, because we don't want to like kind of like take away the attention from our subject here, from our character, and also from the mountains and the path that we're gonna also showcase here in a bit. So now we have the gear added on here. What is the next step? All right, so now we have placed it here, and the first thing we're gonna add is some rotation to the grid. And if you can see, this is not perfectly aligned. So if we would rotate it, it would be kind of like a bad tire, okay? So what we need to do first is align this more perfectly. So for that, I'm gonna open up the rulers here, and then first things first, I'm gonna do is bring this one as much to the middle as possible. So in order to do that, I'm gonna rotate this by 14, 13 degrees. And what we're going to do next is we're just going to align this as much as possible in the middle here, and then also here in the middle based on these circles. It's really just doing by eye. We don't need it to be 100% perfect because, again, this is, we just want to apply the 20-80 rule, or 80-20 rule as you call it. We do 20% of the effort for 80% of the results, okay? So we don't want to do too much because, as you can see, this already does the job. You can barely see that it is not perfect, okay? And if we would strive for perfection, then we would sit here all day just doing this, okay? So now it is aligned in the middle. Again, you can find the gear within the Editing Elite community. So as it says here, join Editing Elite if you want to get the whole project file, the assets and everything. And then we just place the gear here, and we bring the opacity down to like 20 because it's just very, very subtle. If we want to upgrade it, like up it up by 25 a little bit, that's all cool. But that's, again, for later when we're just gonna finish it up, make some finishing up touches. For now, let's just add some rotation to it because, as you see in the video, it subtly rotates here in the background. And also, if you can see in the beginning, it pops in from the left as well. So from the left, it comes to the right. That's also what we're gonna add. So we're just gonna make a Shift R and Shift P, and then the rotation and position comes up so we can add keyframes. So first, for the rotation, we're just gonna have it at 0, and we're gonna bring it the keyframe here. And then the next, we're just gonna make it like 3x, like rotate 3 times in a circle. And we're just gonna bring that to all the way to the end. As you can see, it already rotates very, very fast. So we're gonna make it 2x. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I like that. I would even say let's make it 1x. That's also very, very clean. I would say just make it a bit more fast, like plus 160 or something. Let's see. This is good. This is a good speed. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the position keyframe on the left, and we're gonna bring it a bit more down. You can't see it right now, but I actually brought it more down. So it comes up from the bottom left and it pops up pretty much like this. And if we want to, we can also add some opacity to it, like the keyframing, the opacity, bring it from 0 opacity to 20%, but I don't think it would matter that much. It wouldn't look as much different. And for now, what we're going to do is we're going to select these 2 position keyframes. We can actually forget the rotation. It will just rotate. We don't need to bother with that anymore. And we're just going to add like a smooth operator to it, to the positions. Oh yeah, it's too slow. We're going to bring that and make it faster. It's too fast. I think we can bring out the left one a bit more. I think it's still too fast. So in this case, we can just choose a different flow or a different animation. We can just ease it. That's cool. I just think it's a bit too slow. Can bring it up a bit faster, like this. That's cool. That's really good. I like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add this very nice looking glitch effect, or this TV overlay effect, to the gear and also to our line. Okay. So how do we actually do that? Now, if we go back into After Effects, so if we can go into our graphics folder, you can see there is this very hypnotizing looking TV overlay effect. And we're just going to drag and drop that into our timeline. We're just going to make it a bit smaller because we don't want to have it hypnotize us. All right, so, and then we're just going to cover the gear with that for now. So we're just going to overlay it so it's kind of pretty much covers the whole grid that is visible. We don't care about this part, it's just not visible, so we shouldn't really care about that. And we're just gonna align it as much as possible here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this, of course, 100% opacity, and we're gonna do add on top of the grid. And then also what we're gonna do is track matte that to our gear as well. And now as you can see, there is this very weird looking outline of the grid. So this is not the effect that we want, right? So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna turn on the visibility of the gear, and then voila, we have this very nice looking TV overlay effect. And now you can just tweak it. You can remove the opacity of this, or make it faster, make it slower, smaller, bigger, whatever you want. For example, here we can also make the gear a bit less visible, so everything else will become a bit more visible. You can also, I think, change the mode to screen if you want to. But yeah, if we go back, now we have the same effect to our shape layer here as well, to our line here as well. So what we're going to do is just duplicate it and just track matte that to our line, and also turn on the line. And then what we're going to do is bring this one down, but this one we're going to just overlay it over the line. And then you see it's like super wide. So we're going to make it like 20% or like 18%, and that's it. That's pretty much the effect that we just added on top of it. And the radius is like super huge on this thing, so we're gonna make it a bit less scaled in order to compensate for the big radius what the glow gives us. Because if you can see, if you remove the glow, then you barely see anything. It really depends on what you like. And also you can use a different effect as well. If you would like to have it a bit more smaller, then you can also just make it a bit smaller like this, and then just add motion tile effect to it as well, and then just output and this to a bit higher. It just takes the lines here and it just adds on top of it, and then here and then here and then here. It just adds pretty much on top of it, left, right. It just makes it bigger. It just duplicates pretty much the same thing by 260 pixels, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or 260%. So yeah, that's also one thing you can do. You know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna make it a bit smaller, but for that we're just gonna increase the motion tile as well. But just don't overdo it, otherwise it would just look very, like, I would say distracting. Okay. And now you see also there is this issue that it's not long enough, but actually this is not a issue at all, because we can just bring this a bit more behind or a bit more back, and we're just gonna trim comp to work area, and then we're just gonna remove this, and also we can kind of make it a bit more smaller. This way we just don't have to bother with this, and it's not that deep. Okay, it's not that deep. We don't have to make it perfect here. In your project you can just adjust it as you want. So yeah, this is what we have so far. We're really far ahead already, and I'm super hyped, because now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some really nice shadow or some nice smoke to this screen. So for the smoke, we have this here. It's also from Freepik, and by the way, I have not talked about how much Freepik actually costs. So if we go here and then we go in pricing, what you can see is there is a lot of different plans, and now I'm gonna tell you what makes the most sense for you, maybe. Okay, so what I would definitely not recommend is this one. So why should I recommend it? Because this is more for the AI stuff. So if you're using only AI, I mean, maybe then it makes sense for you, but I guess most of you have probably ChatGPT or other AI image generator maybe in your mind that you could use for free. So this won't make too much sense for AI only. What it actually makes sense for is all the stock footage, all the images. So for example, if I type in blueprint or whatever, I like to use the blueprint analogy, then I can have like the vector files, or for example here. So there are like different vector blueprints that I can use for an animation or illustration as well, or photos. So I have like a photo of a blueprint, I have icons of blueprints, I have videos of blueprints, I have PSD files that I can also use. I have templates, literally mock-ups, and also 3D models, and font is whatever, but you get the point. If I type something in like iPhone or a MacBook or whatever it is, it just gives me what I want. Is it an animation? Is it a video of an iPhone, or is it a vector file? Is it a mock-up of an iPhone? So again, Freepik is just a really good all-in-one platform. I think for animations, Freepik is really just the only thing you would ever need. And yeah, so the pricing, if we go back, I can definitely recommend you just to get the premium pricing or the premium subscription here for $16 per month. Or if you pay for a whole year, then you get it for $120. And I don't recommend going for the premium plus, except if you are really heavy user of AI. Because if you're using AI, then you get almost 3 times much credits than you would with this one. And I have found myself in the same situation where I used some features of FreePic, for example, video generation or character generation, and it just kind of like eaten up my credits, and I had no credit at the end of the month. And it's just for AI, of course, the AI credits, because you get unlimited downloads for all the other assets on the platform. You get also just the premium stuff, and yeah, but the AI is really, really strong. So if you use AI in the future a lot more, then this might as well make sense for you. But other than that, I would say this will get you everything you need for animations, and this one is just the very, very top for like all the AI stuff. You get also a lot more enhanced AI tools like enhanced image generation. You can scale up your videos, etc., etc. So it's very, very good, and we might be getting this in the future if we use AI more in the future. But for now, I'm using this one. This is the premium plan, your current plan, it says it, and I can definitely recommend it for you, and it definitely makes sense to get it, and it's very, very feature proof as well. So FreePic is a really good tool. That's why I also found my smoke effect. So if you go smoke effect and we just go to videos, you will see there's like a lot of smoke. Smoke snow, maybe. Even smoke snow effect. All right, so yeah, whatever you see here, you can just download it with the premium plan. With that said, now we're just gonna drag and drop that from our assets folder into our composition. And we also make it a bit more smaller because it's a 4K file. 51% is good. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring it below the man, okay? So we'll have different kind of smokes. We're gonna have one above the man, and we're also below the man to give it the 3D feeling, okay? And this will make sense in a minute, so hold through it. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna make this a bit bigger, I think, and make it a bit more high up. So up until the point we don't see it, like this. And we're gonna also just bring it more forward as well, like this. And if we take a look, this is what it looks like. And now, in order to remove this black background, which you think, okay, wow, this looks so weird, we're gonna remove this by just pressing the mode and just blending it as a screen, okay? So if you can see it, we can already like see the smoke really nice here. Beautiful. We can just duplicate it as well if we want more smoke. It is really up to you on how much you want. You can also just kind of flip this as well. So for example, like this, you can just flip it, and then you have the smoke from the left side coming as well. And you have like a lot of smoke. Okay, and yeah, it's really dependent on you, on what you like, what you want. And I would say we don't put a smoke in front of the man right now, but we could also technically do that as well, like just a little bit. And it's really your decision. You can also bring down the opacity, and let's see how it looks. So you can see there's also the smoke here as well. It's just very, very hard to see because it's not up there, but yeah, now it's good. All right, so yeah, this is pretty much the smoke, and let's just kind of you see there's this Gadzi image name here, okay? Let's just rename our layers real quick so we just have a better overview. Smoke, and then we have these two texts. We have the man, we have the gear, we have glitch gear, and then we have glitch line, and then we have purple line. Boom. It is technically not required to you to name your stuff. Definitely recommend it, because then you would just have like a better overview at all. Because right now we have so many Gadzi images names, and if I just click wrong, and it just loses time in the long run, okay? And if we can just save time by just doing the little type of work, little nitty-gritty stuff, then it's definitely worth it over the long run. And if we go back, then you can see at the start it is blurred out. The mountains are blurred out, a little bit harder to see. And then once we switch to the bigger perspective, they're unblurred. So in order to achieve this, if we go back, what we're going to do is we're going to right click here, new adjustment layer, and then we're just going to bring this adjustment layer below the smoke. It is literally just above the background. It's almost at the bottom. And we're going to add a Gaussian blur to this adjustment layer, and we're going to bring this to like 18 or like 15. Let's just bring it to 15. Now what we can do is we can decide where we want to have the switch. So where we switch from the dude in the like very near us to the bigger perspective. And then when we switch to bigger perspective, the path also starts. So we can just do it at 2 seconds, okay? Let's just decide for 2 seconds, and we're gonna add a, we hold Ctrl+8, and we can just add a marker here, if you can see it. And we can just have this switch named, and also can label it like what, aqua, and then it's cool. I like the markers. I don't use markers that often, to be honest, in After Effects. However, I use markers a lot in Premiere Pro. I'm not sure. What are you using? Like, do you use markers in After Effects? If yes, for what? I'm curious. If it's just me like being weird, because I think markers can just make your life so much easier, especially if you're like just guessing where everything is. So yeah. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create the path. Now the path is super nice, but yeah, so what we're gonna do now is once we have decided where the switch will be, we're just gonna kind of delete the Gaussian blur here. So after here, when we switch to the big screen, this is what it will look like, and we don't have any blur. So the mountains are very easy and clear to see. Before that, if you can see, there's this blur, and then boom, it's gone. So here we have pretty much just the camera added and the panning or the positioning, and yeah. So lock marker, boom. So for example, as you can see here in the original video, the path goes up until the hill. So it starts here at the bottom, and it just very nicely goes up to the hill. Now, how can we do the same effect, but very simple again? Then the first thing you're gonna do is, of course, select the pen tool. Now we already know it, pen tool. And the next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna decide, okay, where do we actually want our path to go along? So for us, what we can do is we can start here. By the way, we can, for that, remove pretty much everything here. And we can just have our path going from left to right, very nice. And then it will just kind of fade out behind this little hill here, and we'll just come back here, go here, also be invisible behind this mountain here. We're gonna remove it in a second. You will see how we're actually gonna achieve that same look, and then boom, it just goes up to the mountain here, and it just fades out here. So now it looks all very weird. This is not look like a path, okay? But what we're gonna do is we're gonna select the shape layer, and then we're gonna just select the stroke here. We're gonna make this a solid color, and then as you see, it's a solid white color. This is perfect. And the stroke pixel is also wide enough. I think it has 100% opacity, top, very nice. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up this here. Of course, we're gonna name this path, and then we're gonna open this up, open up the contents, the shape, the stroke, and then we're gonna add some dashes to it. So here, there's like a lot of dashes now, and they're very small. So we're gonna just bring up the dashes, and we're gonna make pretty much the dashes as big as we want to. We don't need to make it too big. This is already good enough. Now we have already a good looking path, I would say, okay? Now we can just tweak it a little bit better and see, okay, where does it make sense, where doesn't make sense, and stuff like that. And also remove these sharp edges. You know, this is like very sharp. So in order to remove this, we're gonna select the pen tool, select the path, and then we're just gonna hold down the system key on Mac. I'm not sure what it's called on Windows. It's either Alt or something, and you're just gonna hold it and just gonna press on all these path buttons here, or how you call it, I'm not sure what you call it, but you just pretty much easy ease them in that way. It's kind of like easy easing. All right, and now you can already see it's like very smooth, but again, it's still not like behind the mountain. So how can we achieve that look? And first of all, we're gonna bring down the path, the stroke size a little bit. I think this is good. I think we can even make the dashes a bit smaller, like 20 is good. Or maybe 18. And now in order to get these gone pretty much behind the mountain is we're gonna select the pen tool, and also we're gonna select this tool mask. Okay, we're gonna select this mask, and you can see we will just paint over it, like paint over the mountain. And if we just close it up, then you will see only these three path marks here. So we need to select the path here on our timeline, press M to open up the mask setting, and then open up the mask, and then subtract. Click subtract, don't click inverted, because subtract will give us, we will need to do it again. So this is why we should choose subtract. If we do inverted, then we cannot be as flexible. It just makes more sense. So subtract, boom, and then we're just gonna kind of select the mountain's kind of shape here, just to kind of mask out the path here. And then what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do the same thing here as well for these mountains. Let's just start here. I think this already looks really good with this. And oh, I unfortunately created a path. So it's super important that you create a mask and not a path. So let's start here down here. You can see it's a mask by a different color instead of blue. So let's see. Oh, should we just go here? This is a good good way. These mountains are like not the best again for doing the job, but again, this is just showing you how you can do it as well. And then we're gonna subtract it, and then voila, we got a path that also goes behind the mountains as well. And again, if you want to, you can still tweak it. We can still make it like, look, if it's behind this mountain and whatnot. However, it's not gonna give us that much more crazy effect, I would say. So what we're gonna do is just adjust this a bit more, like here, for example. Can do like this, can remove this, and then just re-enable it, see what results we're getting. And I like it. This is really good. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this path below the man. I think this is perfect. If you want, you can bring down opacity, but it's not really needed. I keep it at 100%, but again, this depends on you. And if you also want to blend this out here, you can use two things. You can either use a mask, which again, if you want to use that, it's cool, but you can also use the linear gradient here as well. I think the mask would be a faster option here. For example, we're gonna select the mask. We're just gonna bring like a rectangle here with our pen tool. We're just gonna open up the mask 3. You can see the color is the same as the one here on the hill. We're just gonna subtract it and just bring up the feather as well. So you see it just kind of fades out slowly. And it creates that fact that at the mountain top, the path ends. Okay, cool. So now we have the path, but we also need to make the path, like in the original video, go from down all the way from the mountain bottom to the top of the mountain as well. Create the effect, and we're gonna do the same effect as we did for our line here at the left as well, which is great. We're just currently blended out, but you can see we open this up. So we're gonna add a trim path, and we're gonna have a end keyframe added here, and we're just gonna bring it back for like here maybe, and just bring it to 0. Now our switch is at the second mark, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start this at maybe 10%, like the beginning. You can see it starts at 10%, not at 0. Our line starts at 10, and then it just slowly and gradually goes up to the hill. At the end, it's 100%. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna easy ease this, and we're gonna bring this keyframe up to like 5.5 seconds. I think this is a bit too slow in my opinion, so we're gonna make this at 5 seconds. So it's really good, nice. Now, we have pretty much almost everything done. Oh, I see we have an issue here. So the smoke creates this very weird effect. So in order to remove, we can do this, we can select the rectangle, you can select the smoke, and then just create like a mask here. So the mask, what it does is if we subtract it, then it gives us help with the feather to blend it out a bit more easier. So we can bring the expansion a bit to the minus, and then just gradually go back until we see that it's gone, and bring the feather to 100 and the expansion to 75. Now this is the weird way to do it, but you can also of course just cut it up until it's not doing that. So you can cut up, for example, like here, and then you won't see that. but I would like to keep it. So this is why I just added this super nice mask effect. It just fades it out. There is no weird line. And the reason I'm showing you this, oh, I'm not perfect and I make these mistakes, even though I'm just creating this and showing you how to do it, is because you will have the same issues, and then you will have to make decisions on what you will actually do to fix these issues within the editing timeline or within the motion graphics. And if you see how I do the decisions, how I make decisions, what tools I use, what decisions I do, then you will have an easier time to do decisions for yourself, just calculate it based on your project as well. So if it helps you with what I do here with this editing, with this detailed editing guide, then drop a like right now down below if you learned something new or learn anything here in this video. And if you actually like the video, then subscribe, because there's more tutorials like these coming in the very future. And if you've been watching this video so far, then you're probably a very dedicated editor. So I don't want to plug my editing elite more and more in this video. What I actually want you is comment down below what tutorial you want to see next on the channel, and also comment down below what actual video would help you to get to your goal with editing videos. So whenever I see a comment, oh, make a video about this and this, my heart just I just get like a dopamine rush pretty much, and I'm like super happy, because then I get super great ideas that I can make a video about. And many of you have requested actual editing tutorials, so I don't want to withhold it. So with that said, I noticed that we have the text is not very easy to see, so we're gonna bring the text to the very top here, so it's a bit more easy to see. It's just was a bit covered by the line. All right, so what I can notice here is this text is very hard to read, and this things here like also very hard to see. So what we're gonna do to kind of make this more dark here, just it's easier to see, I'm gonna make right click, new, and then add a solid layer, which is black, boom. And then we're gonna bring it right below the gear. So you see it's a solid layer, which is just a black color filled out in our timeline. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna select the rectangle and create a mask, as you've guessed it already probably. And then we're just gonna bring this up until this point, right around the gear here. So this is now very easy to read, but it doesn't look good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring down the opacity, and then it looks weird. So we're gonna bring up the feathering as well. And now we're just gonna tweak this a bit and see, okay, can we make this smaller, bigger, etc., etc. Where does it make sense? Is the opacity good? Is it easier to read, etc., etc.? For example, we can also bring it up to like what, 50%, and then just bring up the feathering as well, so it's easier to read and to see, like this. Here we go. So like 45%. And what we can also do is we can mask the opacity, or in this case we can also just press T, then the opacity keyframe pops up, and we can just adjust this like instead of 45 it's 0, and then just slowly increases the background black color, or the very nice darkening within for the text and for the gear, for example like 50%. So now you see it's like hard to read, and it's like easier to read. And yeah, so this is pretty much it so far. The next thing we're gonna add is these lines here, or strings, that is attached to the equipment and that are just jiggling around here behind his back, giving this very nice look of, okay, I'm climbing the mountain and it's like super windy, and the smoke as well, and the mountains just looks very, very clean, and the details are like very, very nice. And I also want you as well, give you a challenge. If you have a project coming up, or you're working on a project right now, and if you should be working a project but you choose to watch YouTube maybe, then for your next project, I also want you to pick like a very, very nice detail within your motion graphics that you're gonna add to make it also a bit more appealing to those people who are actually paying attention to the video on YouTube and just seeing your motion graphics, okay? And if you want to, please also send that into the Editing Elite or somewhere that I can check that out, or through Instagram. You can also send me your video that you edited. And yeah, I like to see whatever your guys are just cooking up pretty much. So yeah, how is this made actually? So yeah, let's take a deeper look. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create these lines, and for that, I'm gonna just remove the fill and add a stroke to it. So for this one, let's make this maybe this dark purple, like very, very dark purple. Boom. And we're gonna make this maybe 4 pixels instead of 5. I think this one is a bit too long. So what we're gonna do is just make this a bit smaller, like this. And then just bring this below the backpack. What we're gonna do is also just add a linear gradient as well. If we want to, we can also make it a bit more dark. I think even more dark would look even better. So this is what we're gonna go for. So a very dark blue, dark purple-ish style. We're gonna align this in the middle. All right, so before we continue, we're gonna make this a 3D because later we're gonna use 3D. So before we pre-compose it, we're just gonna do the same thing here as well. And then we just don't have to open it up again. And so we can just continue working with it, and it's just better for the future. And this project is just 1 click instead of 5 clicks, you know? So we're just gonna save a little bit of time here. And then we're just gonna bring this one to the right, and we're gonna rotate this a bit. All right, we're gonna make this 3D, and then we're gonna pre-compose this. We're gonna make this string 01, and this is string 02. Perfect. By the way, we can also just turn on motion blur for like all of these as well. I like motion blur, so if you don't like it, you can just turn it off. I'm just a big fan. It just makes it a bit more blurry once we have some motion added to it. So then we're gonna add a wave warp to it again. You've probably seen it already that we used before. I'm gonna make this 8, and this is 36. We can make the phase like something like 40-ish, I would say 40 something, and then just make this high. And let's see how it looks. Perfect. So this is what it will look like, and we can just do the same thing, just copy and paste it over for a second string as well. So this way we can just also adjust this a little bit more if we want to, the width, the height, whatever. And you can just see how this looks. Now if we zoom in more, then you can see this is not perfect. So this is why we can also, if you want to, it's not really needed, but by the way, just let's parent these two to the man, and also let's add this here. So just correctly, like in the same chronological order as we should. And what we can also do is kind of make a mask here and just subtract it and just kind of feather this out like this. If you want, it's not really needed, but I can definitely recommend it if you want to make it look more clean. So this way it's a bit more feathered. So for example, bring up the expansion here and here. Here and here, not too much, so it's not removed, but you can just see like a big difference as well. Like it does not go into the backpack. It's also not, you know, just removed. And again, we're just gonna change this color, by the way, to a bit more blue, dark blue. So this way there's just a bit more difference. There we go. All right, looks nice. So this is how you make these very, very nice looking string attachments to your composition. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the kind of tilt effect to our subject here. So we're gonna select this man here, and we're gonna click on this little puppet position pin tool. Now what this does, if we click on his head and also on his body and also just on his feet here, is it gives these very, very weird looking geometric stuff, okay? I'm just calling this geometrical like lines here. The more you have, the more, I would say, detailed it is when you just move it around. So what does it look like? So if we move this left to right, then the geometrical lines, whatever, move our subject also from left to right. So in order to keyframe this is we can just go in. You can see it's already keyframed actually, so it's already automatically keyframed. So we can just put some keyframes here and make this our default. And then we can just pan like forward a little bit, just go forward. Just select this one dot here with shift, and then you can just bring it a bit more forward, and then that's it. We don't want to make it too much because then it can maybe sometimes look very fake, very weird, or distracting and confusing as well. So all the bad stuff we don't want. And yeah, we're just gonna make it like very, very subtle like this. You can also just copy keyframes if you want to. You can make it faster, slower, as you wish, pretty much. The most important thing here is that we just don't move this part of the animation. So we can also just click this singular stuff here, like just blends out everything except for our video. And this is why I added so many kind of like points here, is because if I would remove all these points, then if I would just move this, then it would everything move. So now everything moves until the backpack area, until this point. It's pretty much. So it's much more smooth this way. I like it. So we're just going to copy this. I'm just going to paste it here as much as we want. It's not that important how like far away it is, I would say. We just don't want to make it too fast, of course. Cool. So now we have that done as well. This was like very, very fast, but this is also like very, very heavy on the computer to render out. So just a note, maybe you want to do it at the end of your composition. So you have just a bit more, I would say, more resources, more memory for all the other stuff that we just added. So this is why we just started doing this instead of just doing that first, okay? All right, now what we're gonna do is we have pretty much everything done. We took care of everything here. So there's only one thing left. So we have the gear, we have the lines, but now we have to do the camera angles as well. So first thing is gonna be this camera angle with this nice blur, and then we switch, and then we're gonna zoom in some more up until the animation is finished. So that's cool. This is actually what we're gonna do now. We're gonna open up After Effects, boom. We're gonna add a camera here. And then what we're gonna do with the camera is we're gonna add a null object. If you haven't used null objects before, it's super simple. Null objects are mainly used to make a motion graphics more smoother. So if you don't wanna have a million different keyframes on your timeline, then null objects are like very, very simple to use, very, very nice. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna parent the camera to the null object and also make the null object 3D. So click on this box. If you can't see it, then just click on these toggle switch modes. And yeah, so what this does is we're just going to use the null object as our camera tool, pretty much. We're going to control the camera with our null object. The reason why we do that, it is because the null object is just easier to handle than the camera itself, especially in 3D. So now that we have our camera null object added, what we actually need to do is 3D a bunch of stuff, okay? We're gonna 3D the background, the blur, the man, and also the path, the strings as well. And this is also the reason why we 3D'd them inside the pre-composition as well. And yeah, I think that's it. It's about 6 layers. Now, because we 3D'd, then now we can just use the null object. You can see it's moving around. Cool, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna have a position and a scale keyframe. And we're gonna add this to our switch. Now we're just gonna leave this here. It's all good. We're gonna actually toggle hold keyframe this here. And so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna actually parent the path to our background, so it's not going anywhere. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna scale out the camera. So like this, around 155% is cool. And we're gonna bring the man. We're gonna select the man. We're gonna bring it all the way near the camera. And the next what we're gonna do is bring the background also a bit more near the camera. We're gonna scale it up a little bit. Cool, a bit more maybe, depends really on you, what you like. And if you see it, we're just gonna zoom in a little bit more, and it gives that really nice 3D look. The only issue we're facing right now is the blur. So for the blur, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna scale that up all the way, so it's really not just this little tiny thing within the 3D. So you can just scale it up whatever you like it, like 200 whatever percent, 300%. And yeah, so this is what it looks like right now. This is this little 3D effect, and this is what we're gonna add at the end, okay? What we're gonna do next is we're gonna bring back these toggle hold keyframes, and we're gonna add this switch keyframes here. So this is like the big view, the total view, and this is the toggle keyframe view, okay? So what we're gonna need to do here is we're gonna bring this to the left and also scale here, and then just select these and then left here as well, and then just kind of make it easy. And what we have here is a really nice and smooth movement going from left to the right, having the text come in and then boom, switching to the main view where we will actually zoom in. So zoom in and add that really nice 3D effect. And maybe if you want to, you can also just add up the positioning as well. So it just goes a bit more up to the mountain and it just focuses more on the mountain as well. If you want, you can also ease the last keyframes here and also the first keyframes here as well. Or you can maybe make this smooth operator. It's up to you what you would like to have. So this is what it looks like so far. Very nice left to right pan and then just a subtle zoom in. And yeah, so for this one, you can also make the path a bit slower as well. So it just gives you a bit more space. It depends on how much your character who is or subject in the video is talking. So in the talking video, how much he's talking, how fast he is finishing his sentences, etc., etc. So it really depends on you on how long you want to make this animation for. For this case, I think we can leave it as it is. All right, so this is what it looks like right now. Very nice and clean looking animation, I would say. And if you add CC light rays, what this does, it just gives this like a very nice shine effect. For example, if I turn it off and turn it on, you can see it just shines a bit more. So you can just take the center and just add it, for example, here. If you turn this on, you can also see like the little button and you can just drag it around. It just gives this a really nice shine effect. And it really depends on how you want it. I think this is like a very nice touch, especially if you add like 2 of it and maybe bring down the intensity a little bit, you know? So yeah, that can definitely help you. Like radius, softness, depends really on how you like it. And then you can just pretty much just leave it as it is. Or if you want, you can just keyframe the center. For example, just keyframe it here, and at the end, we're just gonna have this. Now let's see what it looks like when we render this out. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, looks pretty good, especially with the light rays as well. You can see it looks actually like the sun, you know? Yeah, so from here now, what you can do is maybe you can lower this part or whatever you want to do. However, it's not that important. In my opinion, we could just make this a bit more lower, maybe a bit more intense as well if we want to. We can also add some glow to the text as well if we want to. Maybe you can add some vignette to it, maybe some blur. There is all kinds of stuff that you can just add. But if you take a look at the 2080 rule, I think this is pretty much almost there. So we don't need more. All right, looks good. Nice. So this was the first animation. Let's get into the second animation now. And if you like what you learned so far, if you learned something new, then make sure you subscribe because there is a lot more content coming in the future for you. So you can become the top 1% editor and also become faster at editing videos, so you can just also make more money through that. This is literally just a hack or a cheat code for you to watch these videos and just learn how to edit faster videos or how to edit better videos or how to make them more aesthetic or more interesting or more detailed and make better decisions as an editor. So yeah, if you learn something new, then just subscribe because again, a lot more content coming soon. But with that said, let's get into the second animation. So the second animation is not as crazy as our first one. However, in the talking videos, especially if it's like more structured video, you will definitely need a chapter or some animation that separates the chapters from each other and also just tell the viewer, okay, what is actually coming up, especially if it's an educational video. Then you will have like step 1, step 2, step 3 shown in the beginning, and then throughout the video you just show, okay, we're at step 1 now, we're at step 2 now, so the viewer is just very like just conscious about what is going on in the video, which step he's currently looking at, which step he's learning right now, and where he is within the video right now. So he's just not confused like in a raw video. Like for example, just someone talking to the camera without editing. So yeah, for the chapter animation, we have this very animation. And now let's break it down real quick. So we just have kind of like a starting point. We have a very nice looking background, as you can see here. Now, the thing here is I have found this background, the exact same background on a website, and I have downloaded it and I've also put the asset into the folder. So if you like this very nice, I'm not sure what it's called, these mountain graphic line-ish animation, then you can definitely check that out within the assets pack. I've put it in there. It's again in the editing elite. And yeah, so the background with this is already done, so we don't have to do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add these little texts here with the nice elements and also the gear, and also this nice light leaking effect to it as well. And I'm going to actually show you how you can achieve this same look and make your chapter trimmer animation aesthetic as well, and also on brand. As you can see, it's like very, very beautiful purple brand throughout the whole video here. First things first, new composition. And what we're going to do first is we're going to go into our graphics folder, and we're going to take this About Us animation here. We're just going to drag and drop that onto our timeline. So as you can see, if we bring it forward, then yeah, it just this very, very nice looking animation. It's like, wow, very, very beautiful. And what we're gonna do first is we're gonna make this a bit more slower. Time stretch, that's how we can make it slower. We're gonna stretch that to 110. I don't think we actually need that long of a comp, so we can also trim that a bit more. Let's see what it looks like. Nice, beautiful. And then what we will do is we're gonna bring this more down, like around here. I really like this one. I think maybe a bit more up. But besides that, this looks already very nice, like this. All right, perfect. So it's around this level. And then what we're gonna do next is we're gonna add the gear from before to our actual timeline, but now actually without the glitch effect added to it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna unposition this first, and then we're just gonna move this a little bit more to the left around here. Maybe make it a bit more small, like 45. Perfect. And we're just gonna make a position keyframe here and bring it all the way out like this. And we're just gonna bring this a bit more like more close to each other, and we're gonna make it smooth operator. Nice. I think this is a bit too fast. However, maybe if we make it just easy ease, that would look better. Faster. Nice. And now we have the next gear, which I also think that I have from FreePick, if I'm not mistaken. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the gear 03 from our graphics folder and just drag and drop it into here. And then you see there's nothing almost visible because, well, it's actually too big. So we're gonna make it around 16-15% scale. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a fill effect to it. What this does is just adds color to it from black to white. And what we're gonna do next is we're just gonna position this correctly and make it a bit more smaller as well, like 12%, a bit more to the right. Actually, we'll make this on the top left here, make it a bit more bigger. And then we're just gonna bring down the opacity to like 30%. Also, I think the rotations are way too fast. However, this is not a big issue actually. So we're gonna make this 1x. I'm just gonna drag out the 1x so it's a bit more slow. And then what we're gonna do is gonna just copy the rotation and just paste it on to this one so it rotates as well. I'm just gonna drag this out as well so it's a bit more slower as well. And then next is just a position keyframe and just dragging it out as well like this, and then just easy ease it. Maybe a bit slower. Maybe drag this out a bit more like this. Perfect. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add this very nice looking lines, okay? This beautiful circle, and also kind of like the same line we had in the animation before. If you haven't seen that, if you just skip to this one, then make sure to watch that, because what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go back to After Effects and we're gonna go into our first animation, which is this one, and we're gonna just copy the line out of here. We're just gonna paste it in here. Now you might be asking, okay, wait, why do you do that, etc., etc.? I thought this is a tutorial, you're showing us everything. Well, if I'm just wasting your time just showing you the same thing again and again, then, well, nobody's winning, I would say. So this case, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take it from the other project and we're gonna just pretty much just copy paste it into the composition. And then what we're gonna do is bring down the deep glow to like 0.5 and also the radius to like 100, and the exposure way more down and the radius way more up a bit. and we're gonna just make it like this. So first, and then what we're gonna do next is we're gonna make this a bit more wider. So what we're gonna do is we'll just take this and make it this big. All right, cool. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a certain type of effect on the shape itself. So we have the stroke here, and we're gonna add is the taper effect. So the start length will just be like 20%. And then we're just gonna drag this out a bit more. So what this does, the taper effect, is it just makes this a bit more smooth, like this, for example. Now it looks very, very nice, very clean. And one we can also add, instead of just the full purple, is also a darker color here, for example, like this. And here as well, we can just add like a more purple color, what we had before. Just remove this one, like this. And then what we can also do is just bring up the exposure and also the radius as well, a bit more. Now that we have it figured out, we can bring it up again. We just, go with bit by bit first, okay? So there we go. Just make this a bit more dark. Very, very nice. Looks very, very clean in my opinion. Maybe the left side could be a bit more bright, like this. So this looks very, very nice so far. Next up is the circle. So how can we make the circle look actually that sick? Like, it looks very, very beautiful. So the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna create an ellipse. So hold down Shift to make a perfect circle and then just align it in the middle. And then once we have done that, you already see it's almost the same shape. It's almost perfect, okay? So what we're gonna do it is we're gonna look at the color, and we're gonna make one side very pink, and the other side we're gonna make it a bit more darker. And the right side we're gonna make, instead of 100% opacity, we bring it down to 0% opacity. And then next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the same effects as we had for the line. So as you see, the line opens up in the middle, and we have almost the same thing as well for the circle as well. So we just add the same thing as well, and as you can see, it's almost perfect. Now we just need to adjust the colors to our liking, pretty much. Okay, so this is it. Boom. And now you see, once it's ended up, it's perfect, except that we don't have any deep glow added to it. Boom. And also, by the way, I also removed the wave warp effect from the line once I copied it over from the other animation. Just make sure that you do that as well if you don't want any wave warp added to your line here in the next animation. So next is pretty much just placing everything in place, okay? So let's do that by adding this one here, making it maybe 55% big, and then selecting the line and just kind of aligning this here. And our line is way too long. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it smaller and bring them also a bit more away from each other, and then just lining it up. For you to make it more easier to align it in the middle and make it more centered, then you can just turn on the proportional grid, which activates these very nice looking grids. And it's a bit more distracting with the grids to actually work, but to align this, it's just perfect. So then what we need to do is we're just gonna add the text to it as well. So if you take a look, then you can see it's the same type of text that we had from the other one before, and they arrive exactly when we had it opened up. So the line opened up, then comes the headline. So let's just do the same thing here as well. We're just gonna take the headline, add it on top, and then just aligning it perfectly. And then we're just gonna duplicate it and bring it down here, around here, because we will have a little dot here added, which I will show you how to do soon. And then we're just gonna make it a bit smaller and earn 5K per month with editing. We're gonna add this here. We're gonna make this actually medium, and just kind of highlight this 5K, for example. Also, what we could do is make it bold, and we could also have this part like join, just regular, and make this one bold. And for the bottom one, we can also add some italic. We can also add the italic font as well, and just bring it more together to each other. All right, cool. This is what we have so far. So what we're going to do next is we're just going to count down from 9 or from 10 to 1. So this is very, very simple. It's actually like a very, very nice addition, like a very nice touch or detail that he added into this video, whoever was the editor of this video, because he just added this very beautiful number here. It's like 1. We made this, let's make it also semi-bold, I think. Then we have it aligned in the middle. So the first thing we're going to add on this number is we're going to click here and we're going to add a positioning, okay? Position, boom, here's 0, and we're just going to bring this up. Then the next we're going to do is we're going to add some opacity. So we're going to make this 100 and we're going to bring it to 0 here. And now it doesn't look as nice yet, but we're going to add another thing, which is character offset, boom. We're going to offset this, and this is here 0. We're going to offset this by, let's just say 20, okay? So if we go down here and you can see, boom, it's 1. So now we have that done. We're just going to add an easy ease. I think that's already pretty cool. Boom, that's nice. And you can just check it out, like how this looks. Perfect, nice. The most important thing is that it is aligned in the middle, or maybe preferably a bit more to the left, so it looks way more lined up as well. Perfect. And now we just have to add the last little thing, which is the little button here. So in order to do that, we're just going to create an ellipse. Again, we're going to make it very, very small. We don't have to make it big this time. And then next what we're going to do is just going to select a solid color and make it the same as here. We can make it like this, or maybe a bit dark. Boom. And then we're going to make it like 4-ish pixels and make it even smaller than this, usually like this small. It's like a very nice little addition. And what we're going to do is we're going to line this up to the left side. If you want to be more cautious on the exact same like distance, just lines up everything, then you can also just click view and just show rulers. And then when you click here, you can just, you know, get this very nice line. And if you enable snap to guides, then you can also just align this as well with the guides, something like this. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna boom, finish this off with this, add it to it. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some deep glow from the previous one, like here, and we're just gonna bring down the exposure by a lot, like this, and also the radius as well. Then this is what it looks like so far. We're gonna just adjust the text so it is also a bit more aligned, like this. Pretty good. And now in order to achieve this little flickering effect, of course not too much, what we can do here is just play with the opacity. So we could technically just click, hold Alt and just click on opacity. You have to click, and then just this expression comes up. We just type in the wiggle and we can make it like 10, wiggle like 10. So we're gonna keep it at 2. Perfect, I like that. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna just blend it in, transparent, boom, 0 to 100. And then we're just gonna align everything and time it pretty much. Like come in first. We can also make them a bit more faster, like this. We're gonna have the line pretty much opening up while they are coming. And then we're just gonna make these a bit slower. And then these two texts is, this text is a bit later. It comes on with the line. And then once the line is done, we're gonna have this one turning in. Perfect. Let's see how it looks like. Wow, nice. Looks perfect. Let's just check if our gear is, if the roundness is good. Yeah, roundness is good. Also always check if it's not ending too soon. So make sure to drag it out if it ends too soon, so you don't have anything else that is missing at the end, okay? But yeah, so this is what it looks like. And in case you have like this very weird stripes that you can see here, then what you can do in order to prevent that is just to make a mask that we did before, and just make like a rectangle mask like this. Then make it subtract, and then also expand it a bit, and then just make a feather. This way you don't have a line, and it just looks very clean, and it also doesn't interfere with the rest, which is really, really nice. Okay, so this was the animation. It wasn't complicated at all, I would say. And if you want a video on how you can also create something like this at the bottom, let me know. then I will make some research and I will get back to you with a video like that. Alright, so once we have this one, we have just one thing left, which is the light leaks that you see here. This adds like a very nice touch to it. It gives like that sort of there's something about to happen vibe. I think it's very, very subtle, but I think that's the vibe. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna copy and paste this very nice looking blurry stuff into it, and then just gonna scale it to 51%. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna just toggle the switches on and make the mode into lighten. Okay, this is what it looks like after that. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna just trim the comp a bit because I don't think we need that long. So we're just gonna trim this a bit more so it just fits pretty much into our composition. And then we can just pretty much just drag it out as much as we want. For example, we can make this around like 70-ish and the size. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna select the ellipse shape and we're gonna just drag this on top of here. And then next what we're gonna do is we're gonna subtract this, okay? And we're gonna also feather this as well. And we can make this feather like very, very big because it's a larger thing. And then we can also make the expansion a bit bigger as well. So it's just very, very nice and clean. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna bump up the opacity from 0 to 100, very nice. And then we're gonna just scale this up and we're gonna make an opacity keyframe here and just blend this out. So what this does, if we just play it back, you can see it just gives this very nice light leaks to it and it just disappears pretty much. So what we can do is we can just drag it out a bit more if we want to. We don't have to have it ASAP gone. It's up to you how much you want. And if you actually want to move a lot of stuff around without having to mess with the positioning and all that stuff, then you can just create a null object, and then once you have that, you can just parent this all to the null object as well, and then you can just move this around as much as you like, pretty much. So if you want to have it more up, then you can keep it up. If you want to make it more middle, line in the middle, and you can do all that very, very simple with a null object. But in this case, it's all good. You can just keep it this way. In my opinion, we can also like align this in the middle if you want to, but it's not really necessary. All right, so this was the second animation, super clean, super on brand. If you like it, then you will also like the third one. And yeah, with that said, let's get into the third animation. So in the third animation, we have a subject here that is looking at his phone, has his computer here on, and then we have a line that goes from left to the right, and the next line as well that selects two different types of text here. So we have amount of money that you make, amount of messages you send. And then we have also again a gear added to it, a very nice, beautiful, dark purplish background. Now also we have a nice tilt added to the head and also to the arm with or more the hands as well, and also the same amount of text effects that we had before as well. So this is pretty much just broken down the animation. And also I want to do a little quick exercise with you because this exercise will determine your ability to see really nice designs, see really nice animations, and just turn them into your ideas that you can recreate and make it better for yourself. So this sounds very weird, but let's just break it down what you like about this animation. So make it layer by layer. Just have the layer like kind of like in Photoshop just in front of you and just break down what you actually like. So I like, for example, that this is very nice purple, white, and black looking, and that is like very, very visually appealing, I would say. And it's also like very, very consistent throughout the whole video. I like that. I like consistency, the color. Also I like the anime driven illustration, and also like that he adds gear to it, this nice little detail that he always adds throughout the whole animation. So it's consistent as well, and it's just a nice little detail, nice little touch that you can just kind of feel throughout the whole video going. And you also like just hype to see the next animation once you saw like the first 3 or first 4. And I also like the creativity with selecting the left side, and then once he says this words, then he also just selects the right side, but the left side is still visible as well. I also like the background, it's not too visible, and yeah, I like that this has some movement to it as well, because otherwise it would just look boring like the character. And yeah, so this is what all the things I like. Now, when you know all the things that you saw I like, then you can also just take all the things that you like and just turn them into your video as well. So first things first, we're going to create the composition, again, full HD, etc, etc. And then we need the AI picture. So I've already created it. So this is the AI animation that we're going to take. It does not look the same kind of painting as the original one. However, it does the job. It is the same kind of concept. So what I did, I already separated it from the background. So this is the subject and this is the background. They're both separated. And if you want to know, then this is what it looked before, and I just corrected a bunch of stuff so it just looks way more clean. As well as for the background, I didn't like the keyboard, how AI it looked, so I just created it. As well with the screen, it was just too bright, it was white, I didn't like it, and now this, in my opinion, looks perfect for what we're doing here. Okay, also for the subject as well. So once we have separated the subject from the background, what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit File, Save As, and then you just save into your graphics folder, and this will automatically save a Photoshop file. And yeah, just make sure you save a PSD file instead of something else. Okay, in this case we have it already saved up, and we're just gonna drag and drop that as an editable layer into our composition. We go right into it. We're going to copy subject and background, and we're just going to go back to our animation, and we're just going to paste it in here. And now you see we have this here. It is just way more easier to work on this instead of just working on the composition. We actually need these files outside instead in the composition. All right, so we're going to line both of them up to the middle, to the center, and then we're just going to make sure it's right size. All right. So this was the first step. It was the easiest step, I would say, from all. And now what we can do is we can a little bit adjust the character here, so we can just make it more centered. So this way it's just more in the focus. And after that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create this beautiful line here that is pretty much just showing what he says in the video. Okay, so how do we actually achieve this very exact look? And again, we're going to take care of the tilting and whatever later. This is a little bit more resourceful for the computer, so it doesn't make too much sense in the beginning to do that actually. So we're gonna take a line, we're gonna make it from here all the way to here, and we're gonna paste this behind our subject. This is exactly why we take the Photoshop file, the subject and the background, we separate it, so we just have an easier time working in After Effects. And then we just make stroke white, boom, and then once we have the stroke white, I think we can also make it rounded caps and rounded joints here as well. So you see it's nice and rounded. It's not that, you know, squarey looking. And the next one we need to do is we're just gonna animate this in. So run from left to right. So that means we go into the shape layer. We're gonna add a trim path, open this one up, and then start 0 and then add 100, and then boom. We're gonna make this a little bit faster. I think this is way too slow. All right, this looks a bit better. So for this composition, we're gonna just take 9 seconds. I don't think we need any second longer than 9 or even 6 seconds. So we just trimmed the composition to have a better overview. And then we're just gonna easy ease this. Boom, nice. And next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna duplicate this exact shape. So this exact line, and now we have 2, of course. And what we need to do first here is to change the stroke of the second one, which is on top of the white one, to blue in this case. And we also need to add some deep glow to it. And if there's something I really like is deep glow, even though everyone is using deep glow nowadays, I really like it. It just makes it, I would say, more interesting to watch. It just gives that very nice dopamine hit. There we go. We just had this very nice subtle glow added to it. Well, it's not that subtle, but it is definitely looking nice. Let's change the color to a bit more bright blue. There we go. This fits already really good. Let's take a look. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna end this here in the middle. So we just do 50% of the line, okay? We're gonna start it and we're gonna end it at 50%, and we're gonna also delay this a little bit. boom. And then what we're gonna do is, let's just say we switch here. So we're gonna take the position and we're just gonna make this here, and we're just gonna take the position all the way to the right until this is filled out here. Boom, like this. So what this does is it fills it out with the white, with the blue. Maybe we can even delay the blue a little bit. Boom, boom, and then we're just gonna switch to the right. There we go, perfect. So white opens up, blue opens up, and then blue goes to the right side. Perfect. So this is how we achieve this look, and now it's almost like the easiest part is now coming, which is just copy and pasting. We've already created the text that we used before. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna copy and paste the text here. For example, join the video editing elite to learn how to get clients. Cool. In this case, this was a bit more thick, so we're just gonna make it semi-bold for both. Boom, perfect. So first we're gonna show this one, and we're just gonna drag this out so it doesn't disappear, like this. Okay, and now we're gonna add the gear. I hope you didn't forget the gear, because the gear is our main component here. Also, let's just bring everything below the subject, because I don't think we have to bring anything above the subject, to be honest. So we just added the gear. Come select these two, and then just bring this one here up. We can also make this a bit bigger. And we can just bring this out, and then what we're gonna do is just pretty much easy ease our gear. All right, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna select our subjects with our pin tool. We're just gonna have our heads selected here, and also of course, lower neck, our torso, our arms, both of these, and then our hands. So what we need to do now is pretty much just adjust the puppets. So first what we're going to need to do is we're going to tilt the head a bit more towards in, and then again out, and then in, and so forth. Okay. Also, I just noticed we don't really need like a more than 6 seconds of comp, so I'm just gonna trim the comp a bit more. Feel free to do that as well. If you don't really have like a set time, just make sure to trim that if you need it. I'm gonna just duplicate it. Let's see how it looks. And now what we need to do is we're gonna add some more movement to our hands. So let's do it like this, and then like this, and then again like this. I think it's a bit too fast. I'm just gonna select all of these, and we're just gonna make this easy ease. Let's see how it looks like. Perfect. I wanted just to have a very, very subtle, like I would say, movement in with this character. And also for the gear, we can also just bring down the opacity to like 10% or 9%. And then we're just pretty much done. Except that we can still, for our white layer here, bring down the stroke and also bring down the opacity a little bit, like 30% or something, or like 50%. There we go. All right, so once we have this done, we add a null object, and we're just gonna pretty much just parent everything to the null object, right? So also the background, and then we're just gonna make Shift S, Shift P, and then we're just gonna open up the position and scale keyframes. We're just gonna zoom in a little bit, and we're gonna pretty much just adjust everything. And you can also bring this more a bit up, and if it's dark, if like the background shows, what you can do is just add a motion tile to your background, which is really nice. So what you can do is just mirror the edges, and then output width 140, output height 140, whatever, doesn't matter too much. And then you can just see how nice it scales in. All right, so that's it. Very, very nice and clean looking AI animation. It does, again, not look like the same artistic or I would painted image, but again, this is I would say the animation itself is 80% there, and in terms of style, you can just add plus 20% if you just spend more time working with the AI. All right, so this is the final animation. As you can see, it is very, very clean. So with that said, this was how to animate like Iman Gadzhi. And if you want to see more videos like these, just let me know down below in the comments. Literally just tell me what you want to see on this channel, and also join the Editing Elite if you actually want to make more money as an editor.